We finally made it to the final video in this 3-part series that has caused a significant pay raise for my therapist. As is customary, this is that part of the video where I tell you to go watch the other 2 videos on Franklin and Michael respectively if you haven't already. You may think that they're not really necessary, but they do add a much needed context to this episode, and they also explain the rules I'm using when looking at these 3 main characters. There'll be a link in the description of this video for you to go and watch them in a playlist. Now with that out of the way, let's take a deep dive into the character mess that is the psychology behind Trevor Phillips. This video is going to be broken down into 3 different parts because I believe that there are 3 crucial turning points in Trevor's life. Well, at least the portion of his life that we get to see as players. Lord only knows the cruel and unusual things that were done to this poor man as a kid. It's almost impressive how nonchalant and outrageous he is. Almost. The first one we're going to be looking at is his time in North Yankton during the prologue. That one bank job that changed everything. This heist is the sole reason behind why we have a GTA 5 campaign. It's also the reason why we as players were so hyped for GTA Online heists. If only Rockstar didn't take literal years to deliver on the promises they said would be ready for us upon release. What were we talking about? Oh right, Trevor. North Yankton was a catastrophic fuck up from every member involved, even down to the guy who planned to kill one of his best friends and run away with most of the money they made. At this time, the trio of Michael, Brad, and Trevor was shaky at best. You can tell that these partners in crimes were no longer, as distrust and resentment started to build between the 3 of them. It was at this point that the crew had peaked and were now descending rapidly into a life of petty crime or imprisonment. Maybe this is what caused Michael's betrayal of the trio. Regardless, it's no secret that Trevor took this heist failure the hardest. Well, maybe Brad had it worse, but he's in no place to defend himself. I think while Trevor was unhinged from the very beginning, he did truly care for his compatriots. We can glean this much from Trevor's dialogue upon Brad and Michael being shot. While Michael was overreacting about a non-fatal bullet wound and lying about Brad being okay when he was literally dead on the pavement a few inches in front of them, all Trevor says is, "I'm gonna leave you, Mikey! Go!" I believe this to be the first tipping point for Trevor, when the screws were becoming loose and the hinges were rusting over. He cares for his crew, regardless of any petty squabbles they have amongst each other. When faced with death or imprisonment by the entirety of the local police in North Yankton, Trevor still chooses to make a last stand and kill as many of the cops he feels are responsible for hurting his brothers. His family. The only thing he really has left. Trevor takes what's left of his life and moves to northern San Andreas. With not a lot of money, a federal wanted level worth of a criminal record, and the sanity of Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker, Trevor did not have a lot of options. This is where his more intelligent side comes in. That's right, there's more to Trevor than a homicidal maniac with a track record of doing awful things to people's dead bodies. Well, in the sense that he's still a homicidal maniac, but he's mighty fine at creating a successful business. An illegal and illicit business, but I digress. Trevor is doing what he knows best, and that's selling cocaine and exporting weapons to questionable at best buyers. As someone who went to college for marketing, I can tell you that creating scarcity in a market is one of the best ways to distribute and sell a product or service. Now, normally a company would do this by falsely creating scarcity or the idea of it and flooding an already saturated market with another useless product. Many of these companies have the illegal part down packed, but there's only one thing I have to say about their methods. Boring squares. Simply being a greedy company that gives inferior products isn't enough for Los Santos, and it definitely isn't enough for someone like Trevor Phillips. Oh no. You see, Trevor Phillips and Trevor Phillips Industries takes things into another level by getting his hands down and dirty, manufacturing the scarcity himself. Are you buying meth from the O'Neill brothers? That's what I thought. Buying your weapons from Ortega? Uh-huh. This is how you run a business nowadays. For legal reasons, it is important to make sure that the audience and any CIA or FBI members watching this knows that this was a joke. Rules Perspective does not support or condone the murdering or kidnapping of business partners or rivals. With a successful business up and running, Trevor was finally ready to put his old life behind him. Until he sees a ghost on the television. Or at least the description of one. This sends Trevor down a spiral and like a needy ex gets back on his bullshit once again, driving down to Los Santos to confront this phantom from his past. Now originally Trevor thought it was someone impersonating his old running buddy. There was no way that Michael Townley was alive. Trevor watched him get buried. He went to his funeral. So he needs to go and set the record straight for his old friend. That is until his associate, I'm using this word as loosely as fucking possible here, please understand that, Wade, comes back with information about a Michael DeSanta who has a wife and 2 kids, matching his former peer down to the T. Uh-oh. Now Trevor isn't interested in putting this ghost to bed. Now, he's going back to reawaken a beast that was put down 10 long years ago. And I'm not talking about Michael. The reunion between Michael and Trevor didn't go down as bad as one might have anticipated. So then why do I call this section of fate worse than death? Well, that's because of what happens when Trevor finds out about the other third of this iconic trio. But we'll get to that. First, it's important to say that it's at this point that Trevor's character takes a semi-weird turn for me. Angry with enough rage to kill dozens of inbred hillbillies and Mexican cartel members, Trevor stormed down here to Los Santos. Yet when he finally meets Michael DeSanta, a formerly wannabe old person, now just old person wannabe, he helps him with his daughter and his wife.
Now let's go, come on!
Maybe there's something that I'm missing here. Please take this as an open invitation for you to comment down below how much of an idiot I'm being, and tell me if I'm misunderstanding or maybe misremembering something about the story. But this sequence of events just felt really weird to me. Maybe a part of it was being paralyzed by the hype he had built up around seeing Michael again after all this time. I mean, he dispatched Ortega without a second thought and had no problem humiliating and degrading the fame or shame host, yet in between these two events, he was actually quite civil with Michael. Dare I say it, maybe even a little nice. Now, I know that they do have a scene where they're going at it, yelling at each other and bitching, but this is quite a bit after their initial meeting. Maybe a part of him still sees him as a best friend, a brother that he'll always want to take care of, or at least try to. Whatever it was, it's safe to say that it dies when Trevor finds out about what really happened to Brad. Finding out about Brad was really the final straw for Trevor Phillips. This whole time, he had been crafting a plan to make his money and free his friend from the prison sentence that is just over 10 years old. You see him mentioning this a lot over the course of the campaign, and the scene of him discovering that Brad is dead gave me chills when I rewatched it for this video. Just seeing this man realize something so crucial, so apparent that it's been directly in his face for hours now, and just storming off. You could tell by Michael's voice when talking to Dave over the phone that he is absolutely terrified. The jig is up.
You're alive? You are D-O-N-E fucked!
Dave and Michael both knew that Trevor was liable to go to North Yankton and dig up Michael's gravesite. The chase to the airport as Michael, where all he can do is regret his decisions up until this point and rage, felt real. Ned, Luke, and Stephen Ogg did a great job with these characters, but more specifically with this moment. In the burial site, in the same state where Trevor once took a last stand for Michael, putting it all on the line for him. He now abandons him for dead. It's just so poetic. This is as far as we're going to talk about Trevor in regards to the main story, because while the characters do make up after this, it's now a very different kind of relationship. Sure, the ending shows them making it work, but in reality that's a plaster over an axe wound kind of situation. All of it. The whole thing. Just take your pick, but like an unsupervised bowl of Halloween candy, make sure you take a lot more than one. I wanted to take this portion of the video to discuss perhaps one of my favorite theories about GTA 5. Well, it's less a theory and more of a fact now, but I think it's important to mention the purpose behind a character like Trevor. Obviously, the three different characters represent different play styles, but the only one relevant for this video is Trevor's. He's symbolic of the crazy out of control lunatic who plays GTA 5. Killing everyone in sight for no reason, stealing anything and everything that they can, and being a bad person in every possible situation. I've seen a lot of people sympathize with Trevor and say that he's a real victim from this game and from Michael. And no, hell no. Trevor is a meth head with a propensity for violence in every circumstance. But I think the reason why Trevor has this reputation is because a lot of characters relate to him. That's how he was sold and marketed to us from the release of GTA 5. At least players can relate to his playstyle anyway. And openly criticizing a character that's how you play GTA 5 kinda makes you look like a hypocrite. It's easy to bash on Michael because no one plays GTA 5 like a grouchy retired mid-50s man. Well, besides me. But Trevor is too integral to a lot of GTA players' ideology for the game. So while he is a damaged man and isn't completely past the point of redemption quite yet, no one can say that this man doesn't deserve the consequences of his actions. Okay, maybe that's a bit too harsh. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you enjoyed this mini-series. I really enjoyed making it, and I honestly think it's one of the best projects that has come out on this YouTube channel yet. If you're excited for the future project, and maybe a secret 4th GTA video coming along the way, please make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment down below which character you feel like you relate to the most, and tell me why. I really do enjoy every single one of your comments, and I'm excited to read and respond to as many as I can. But that's all from me, guys. I will see you all later.